Hey yo yo.
Back, Hir-O.
Yo, check it. This my special attack, 100 swords, 100 episodes, and here's to 100 more. Who got next? Place your change on the cabinet. Air Combo University graduates juggle my enemies before tagging in the Masters Hero. Pros in action, toe tagging champions getting active. The message will always get near you. Return to the dream team, Spider-Man and Strider hear you. When the mask is on, I can't promise Cyclops to keep his glasses on. The handshake was potent. The inner glow shown as a mega optic blast, trailing behind the Shinku Hadouken. How you gon' dodge both of them? Blast you down to the last atom. Best regards from the proton cannon you couldn't fathom. If you were raised on gaming and put a controller up, I'm old enough to study the meta before I bless you. We understood space in the dash clean. Now we need the Justin Wong poster right next to the pro athletes. Final justice like a primary lotus from out the sky. Stars and stripes reminding you racism is still alive. Bring a plasma sword to a gunfight. Hayato, bring a hurricane kick. Tatsumaki Sentakyu. One time for all my otakus who played the console till their eyes closing. Probably forgot to study for their finals. Welcome to the SwordCast. SwordCast. My wordplay, my sword play when blades clash. Welcome to the SwordCast. SwordCast. My wordplay, my sword play when blades clash. Welcome to the SwordCast. SwordCast. My wordplay, my sword play when blades clash.
Ah, yes.
Recording.
We are recording.
We're back.
Dog, I feel like
It's been like 2 years. Ice storms.
it's always something, bro. Ice storm, just general.
Do you want to just break down? So we're in Michigan, as you all know.
Yeah.
Why don't you just break down the last like 3 weeks of weather?
Michigan
here.
does this thing every once in a while where it doesn't snow. It instead rains
When
and
it's
then,
like 20 degrees
well,
outside.
here's what it does. This is even more like, it's more sinister than that. It rains when it's like 40.
Sinister.
and it rains hard, bro. It's like a summer or like a spring rain where it just rains all day long, and then all of a sudden it just drops to -10, like overnight, bro. Storm just comes in, Laurel Monroe just comes in and just cold snaps the whole state,
my God.
and it like the rain freezes before it gets a chance to snow.
Lightning storm.
Right, lightning storm. Angela Bassett, bro, only. Yeah, like, and it just freezes everything, bro. Like, so the raindrops will just be like flash freezing. So you'll look outside and like your trees will just be encased in a layer of ice, bro.
And
it
then
looks like something out of Game of Thrones, dog.
And then what happens is the ice makes the tree branches so heavy. that literal whole trees will fall over.
Yep.
And I have this two big pine trees right in my front yard, and like big giant branches were falling off of them, and then it's like they're fresh too, so you can like, when I went out, because I heard one of them fall and it brushed my house when it fell, so I hurried up and ran outside to make sure it didn't fall in the house, and it just smells like tree sap outside.
Yeah. Like that pine smell.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, bro. And then my fucking dog. And then, so we live in Detroit, and Comcast, Xfinity is like the only,
hate y'all.
one of the only. I mean, I think out in where you live, y'all got like WoW and Spectrum and all that. So in the Detroit area, the only options are really Xfinity and maybe, depending on where you live, AT&T. And the Xfinity like infrastructure around Detroit is so trash, bro. Like, my internet went out and the power went out for like 5 straight days. I mean, the power was not really that big of a deal, but the internet was out for like 5 straight days. It was out for so long that I like used up all my hotspot battery. Them niggas was like, Verizon called me. Verizon sent me an email, was like, hey, bro, y'all niggas got to chill.
Dog.
You got to chill with that fucking.
They got to give you some type
shit.
of credit though. Like,
so I looked into it, and then based on how they prorate it, my refund was like $7, nigga.
That is.
I beg your pardon.
Hilarious.
7 doll hairs. Bro, I should make you pay my whole Verizon bill because I used up
gosh.
all my network off this shit. I think it was like $10 for over 5 days. It was so ridiculous. Anyways, that's the reason why we haven't been able to get on the pod lately. It's just been a total disaster in Michigan. So,
man.
And then there was threatened to be another one yesterday, but I think it warmed up in time for it not to become a problem. But yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's you know, around me it's like schools lights were out, you know what I'm saying, and then they like the kids had 2 snow days in a row, and then like the one day they know that it's gonna happen, and so they'll like, hey, come pick your kids up, like, you know what I'm saying, early.
You remember when you had to go to work? No, fuck that now.
Come pick your kids
come
up
pick up your children
halfway through the day, and it's like I wish they would just not send them in the first place.
Yeah,
you know?
Gotta go to work. Got other things to handle. Too bad. Come get your kids.
We don't care.
We're done.
Come pick up.
We already locked the door. They're hanging out outside. Want to be a bad parent and just leave them out there? Be my guest. But one thing's for sure: they're not coming back in here. Fuck you.
Oh, man.
I don't even have kids, but like that's irritating.
It is, man. It's irritating. But that's what they do. That is what they do. But yeah. Anyway, besides that,
yeah.
What are you into currently, my friend?
You
ain't into nothing. You ain't had no power.
Yeah, I've been into trying to find ways to like. I found out that my work phone
how to make fire.
Yeah, how to fucking rub sticks together and make fire. I did learn that my work phone has a hotspot, so that was good. Didn't have to pay for that after a while.
That's nice.
I watched a TV show that I owe an apology that I got wrong because it came out in like 2018 initially. But because I had heard about, and I never even saw the movie Golden Compass. Did you ever see that movie? The Golden Compass?
Isn't that with the big polar bear?
Yes. And I used to because I thought it had something to do with Polar Express because they both had polar bears in them. Or I don't even know if Polar Express had polar, but did it have polar bears in it?
There is not a polar bear.
I don't know what I was thinking. For whatever reason, I didn't watch the movie because it was very much marketed as like a kids movie.
Yeah.
And I think it was a kids movie, and so there's a HBO. Was it not a kids movie? It was like
my mistake is it's not part of that like Narnia.
No, it's not. So either way, this was, and I also have another revelation that I need to share with the group here. Either way, it was in that like fantasy young adult little kid. I thought that it was in that world, so I was like, I'm good. I'm not interested in the movie or interested in the TV show. So they came out with a TV show that adapts that story, but like takes it into way more detail. The show is called His Dark Materials. And you know, I do this workout where I go 30 minutes on the treadmill and I put the incline up to like 1,000,000. So it's basically like
1,000,000.
I'll be basically like walking up a fucking brick wall for like 30 straight minutes. It's hard, but it's less intensive on your knees than like running.
Oh goodness.
So that's good because I'm trying to let my knee tendonitis heal. Old basketball injuries, bro. You already know what it is.
They, unfortunately, them joints be catching up to us.
They
man.
do. So anyways, I try to reward myself by like watching a show that I can only watch when I'm on the treadmill. And that's the show that I chose. And I got to admit, bro, I was wrong. That show is fire, bro.
Okay.
It's really good. It stars Daphne Keane, who played X-23 and Logan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's really good. Got a couple of black characters in it that are dope. And it's on some magical fantasy type shit. But here's the thing that I realized. And I don't know if I'm ready to give Magic an apology because I still think Magic is too MacGuffin-y sometimes. But I will say this. I think and I talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. I think I owe the fantasy world a bit of an apology.
Uh-oh.
Well, I had to be careful with how I say that because I don't think it was my fault. I think it was the media's fault, or even like fantasy as a genre's fault for being how it was. But it's not the fantasy that I didn't like. It wasn't necessarily the magic that I didn't like, unless, of course, the magic is just, here's a MacGuffin at the last second that changes everything.
Presented.
As long as the magic has rules and like the rules are steadfast, I'm good with it. It wasn't the magic, it wasn't the fantasy, it wasn't the dragons, it wasn't the medieval, it wasn't none of that. It was the fact that these fantasy genres, when I was a young person, ain't never had no black people in them, bro.
No, we talked about that before. How there's like literally zero black folks in any of this fantasy stuff.
So I made that realization then, but then as like more and more fantasy shit started to come out with like more black people in it, I realized like, wait a minute, bro, like this shit is fire because all it is big worlds with a ton of lore, and that's the thing that I care about.
In the fantasy genre, like the lore is so much because like you got these guys that not only do they create an entire world, but then they create a history of that world and like different groups and like religions and beliefs and like things that have been in place in these worlds for like hundreds and thousands of years and creatures and so and they come from a different part of like it's a lot, man.
It kind of don't even matter what genre it is. Like for me, when it comes to storytelling, that is what I need. Like that's the thing that I hold at the highest regard is your world building. Is your world super fleshed out with a ton of lore and history and theories and sweaty and all of that shit? Like if it's sci-fi, if it's future sci-fi, if it's tech, if it's like dystopian, or even if it's fantasy. Like I realize that it doesn't matter. The thing that just made that whole genre not approachable to me, or not like I couldn't penetrate it, was that I just was uninterested in these stories about these crusty white folks that I didn't see myself reflected in at all. It was very difficult for me to get invested in it. But now that there's a couple of stories here and there where like
we got some black folks,
got some brown people in general, like in leading roles and just like not being goblins or something.
Right.
This shit kind of dope, bro. So yeah, man, I'm open. And I don't want to apologize because it wasn't my fault. It's not like I was like, magic is, or all of this shit is trash. It wasn't presented in a way that like I could identify with. And now that it is, I realize that shit is pretty cool.
Hey, that's lovely, man. I mean, you know, I love the fantasy genre. So like you said, it is refreshing to just start to see some brown folks and some different looking characters in these mediums, you know, which, and you know, it's like even when you look back, like of course, you know, what I'm into is Berserk, and even Berserk's got, you know, a couple brown looking people in it, you know, like I think Casca's clearly black.
She is.
Know?
I don't even know shit about Berserk, but I do know that character is black.
Yeah,
I actually knew that. I knew that character was black, and I didn't even know she was from Berserk until you said that just
now. Right. But yeah, for me, I mean, you guys already know I've been obsessed with Berserk lately, and sadly, I am very close to being current on the manga. And you know that just kind of brings me to, I think, because before I had finally started reading Berserk, remember I kind of went through that little phase where I finished Vagabond, and then I just couldn't read shonen manga anymore.
Nope.
Like I couldn't get into it. Like I was trying to get back caught up on My Hero Academia, and I just couldn't get through it. And I was like, okay. So then I actually started reading Vagabond again before I finally decided to read Berserk. And when I was reading some of the Vagabond stuff the second time, so what I did was I just was kind of going back and just reading my favorite chapters and stuff, and my favorite arcs. And I think it's kind of tough when you binge read something like this, because I think you miss out on a lot of stuff because you are reading to get caught up, and you're still taking it in the moment, and it's like really dope, but you're not like retaining as much of it as you would be had you just been reading it as it were coming out. You know what I mean? So because you're reading and your ultimate goal is to get caught up.
Right.
And then when you finish it, you're like, no.
Right.
Wait a minute.
What about where's the rest?
What have I done? Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So so yeah, you know, that's kind of what's happening with Berserk, because Berserk is long and I'm already almost, you know, through, but man, it's so good. I love it. I love Berserk so much. it's so good, man. The art is incredible. Story, incredible characters, incredible. The Guts, one of the greatest main characters of all time. I love. So my favorite thing right now is just the Berserk armor. Man, it just looks. I think one day on here we're gonna have to do like top 5 best like anime power ups, right? Or like for transformations. Because I think that the Berserker armor, one, just looks incredible. Like one of the sweetest designs ever. It's some of the best manga art too. But just like the whole premise behind the armor, like it's not just like a cheap plot device power up for the main character. What it does is, so one of my favorite quotes ever from Miyamoto Musashi is seek nothing outside of yourself, right? And everything you have is within yourself, or everything you need is within, right? And the whole thing behind the Berserk armor is it's not like giving Guts a crazy power up. What it's doing is it's just releasing the limiters on his body and allowing him to tap into everything that he has, and he just fights like an animal, right? Like max speed, no limiters on speed, so he's like moving so fast and being so strong that he's like destroying his body, but the armor releases the limiters and he can do all this without feeling pain. Now he pays for it afterwards, you know what I'm saying? But
kind of reminds me of Deku a little bit.
Yeah, so I really like that. But just the story, man, is so good, and the artwork is incredible. So definitely sad that I am approaching the end of it here, but I just been into Berserk, man, and it's been amazing.
Boom.
Oh, also, you guys know I still am a kid, and so I still love the Pokemon anime. So Ultimate Journey's finally put out the next group of episodes, so now it's like approaching the Masters 8. Yeah, it's approaching the Masters 8, and then they put out like 15 episodes, and they still a couple battles away from Ash versus Leon, so that's not going to come out in the States for like probably till the summer, which is dumb. But it's good. There's still good battles on there because the Masters 8 starts, right, so you still see a couple of the battles. There's, man, probably the best Pokemon episode in years, where they go back to Kalos and Ash has Greninja teach his Lucario how to battle bond. So that's really dope. But yeah, Pokemon anime, it's been good. Boom. Quick wrestling recap, man. Match of the week from last week, man. Definitely Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta. Yeah, that match was a banger. So shout out to them. We are approaching a lot of stuff, man. WrestleMania is kind of looking like it's going to be trash. I mean,
yeah. So I heard that they made some announcements. What did they change?
I don't know exactly, but it looks like for some reason we're doing Brock Lesnar versus Omos or something.
What the fuck?
I don't know. Like, yeah, how big they are. Yeah. Big black monster.
Hey, Brock, go get that black nigger, that big nigger.
You're gonna slay the biggest one of all this time, Brock. But yeah, whatever. Revolution's coming up. AEW.
When is that? Is that like on the?
I think it's literally like this weekend, maybe. Or
really?
Next weekend. One of the two. It's coming up for sure. But I just wanted to know how you feel about MJF right now. Is he world champion material to you? And what do you think is gonna happen at Revolution? Do you think he beats Danielson clean? I personally,
it is this Sunday.
I don't think there's a scenario where he loses to Bryan Danielson.
No.
Now, we talked about this earlier, and I kind of gave my thoughts on how I think it's. I just don't like the way that they have done his title run right now. I think it's way too soon for them to kind of feed Bryan Danielson to MJF. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it that way.
I think now I get it, right? This is arguably the best wrestler on the planet. So this is how you MJF gets the instant stamp of credibility, right, by beating Bryan Danielson for the championship. But I would have much rather liked this title run to be kind of focusing on him proving that he's the best of the young AEW pillars, right? So I really thought this title run he should have kind of ran through like Darby Allin and Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara and some of those younger those younger AEW stars that he had always been compared to, that he kind of came in with. So
I think they're gonna do that next. So here's what I think should happen, and I think that any issue with his title run will be solved if this happens. I think that he should beat MJF clean. I'm sorry, I think he should beat Daniel Bryan clean. And if he does, like, I know it's too early to feed Danielson to him, but if he does, and he has like a good match and like does the wrestler, like the pro wrestler thing, like it takes any of the wind out of the he's just good on the mic sales.
Well, that is the one thing about MJF, is that he actually can wrestle.
He's a good wrestler.
He had that match with Konosuke Takeshita a few weeks ago. That was actually really good too. So
yeah, so if he does that and then like goes on and does what you said, like goes through the gauntlet of Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, etc., all these young folks. Although I think Sammy Guevara is like on a different path now, which is weird. I don't really like what they're doing with him right now.
I don't either. Yeah, I agree.
I feel like they're really, really excited about Action Andretti, which I mean, he can wrestle, but I don't know. Something about him is a little corny to me.
Yeah, I agree.
He can wrestle though. He's good, but also, you know what I'm saying? I would love to put Ricky Starks in that tier,
in that spot.
You know what I'm saying? As opposed to,
I would put Ricky Starks up there too.
Yeah. So if they do that, which I don't think they will,
their little program they had was actually pretty good.
I liked it. I did like that.
And Ricky Starks is probably one of the only guys that could
stand with him on the mic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ricky Starks is in a good spot. He's.
I kind of worry about him. He strikes me as like maybe he's the one AEW star I could see going to WWE.
Do you think so?
I don't know if he would, but I just think he would fit. As far as being a good fit, I think he would just fit.
I totally agree. He would. And I don't disagree that he could go to WWE, but I still think MJF is the most likely to do it.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, he's playing this shit.
I don't know though, because, and I know I know it's like been this big thing for the last couple of years about him and when his contract is up.
Yeah. And he's playing that shit so smart though.
Does he want to go there and get neutered so bad and they're gonna censor him so bad in the way that
look, bro, I think that's the one thing that like will backfire. I think the way he's playing it is really, really smart. But I also think that he holds all the cards, bro. Like he can go.
Right.
And I think he'll get a major payday if he does. But I also think that if he does, it will be a mistake. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like I think both things are true. I think he's the most likely to leave, and I also think that if he does leave, it would be a mistake.
Right.
Because he'll get one title run max when he first gets into it. Because, you know, they always do that. They're probably going to do the same thing with Cody. And I guarantee you, once they do that, they're going to sacrifice Cody immediately. Yeah. After he beats Roman, which I don't think he should, but he probably will. And if MJF goes to WWE, they're going to do the same thing, especially if the rumors about Vince being back in control are true. He's going to do it just to spite AEW.
God, he's too small.
Right.
How small he is.
He's gonna get his title run. He'll hold the belt for 6 months tops, and then he's gonna get sacrificed to Brock Lesnar again, or maybe even Roman Reigns again. One of Vince's guys. So if I were MJF, I would keep playing this thing, get your payday, but I would sign your check with AEW because they will protect you. Right. WWE will not.
Boom. So right now, as things are being reported, this is shaping up to be a pretty fantastic year for fighting games. Right?
Yes.
We now have Street Fighter, Tekken, and a new Mortal Kombat game. All three are supposed to come out this year, which is nuts. Which one, if you can only pick one, are you most excited for? And So
damn,
I know how we
hard.
feel about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it's not Mortal Kombat. Spoiler alert.
Right, but just the fact that it feels like, feels like 2000. You know what I'm saying? 1997 or something.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? With all three of these games coming out.
Yeah, the one that I'm most, that's hard, dog, because the one that I'm the most attached to, but that I have probably the most, it's different, right? So the one that I have the most history with is definitely Street Fighter, but the one that I have the most intimacy with in terms of like highest skill level is definitely Tekken.
It's the same exact with me too.
So like I'm very excited for both of those. Just in terms of like which one am I gonna play the most, I have to slightly give the edge to Street Fighter only because of the creative character mode, which I think is gonna hold my attention for a while. I mean, I think it's gonna be kind of like a 2K my player type thing.
Oh man.
So like there's like it keeps your interest even if it's flawed. It does keep your interest for a while. But like I just already know Tekken. That shit just looks so good, man. Like very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm literally in the same boat. Definitely got the most history and more like nostalgically attached to Street Fighter, but as far as the game, I got the most Tekken.
See what you did there.
As far as the game, I got the most Tekken. It's Tekken, for sure. So I am very excited for both of them.
Yep.
Ant-Man Quantumania. Did you see it?
I did.
What'd you think?
I thought Kang and Jonathan Majors were fantastic, and that's all that mattered. So therefore, I thought it was good. That's like literally, who cares, bro? Like,
yeah, it was. It was. I felt the same way. I felt like Kang was fantastic.
Yes.
It felt weird for them to, and I understand. Like you want to. It felt like he was too big of a villain for an Ant-Man movie. That's what it felt like to me.
I agree.
Now I understand, you can't, this was their way of not just pulling this super powerful villain out
he had to be somewhere, right?
He had to be somewhere that wasn't had to be somewhere that wasn't on Earth, right? He had
or
to be,
in the universe.
Or in the universe, period, because
Thanos would have known about him.
Exactly.
So the only place he could have been was in the quantum realm, and the only motherfucker that has any business there is Ant-Man. So it's like, all right, fine, nigga. Here.
Fine, you get the sweet villain, right. That's fine, whatever.
But bro, that movie, here's my thing, dog. I don't care about that movie to like critically analyze.
You know what I'm saying?
It was like, did they introduce Kang appropriately? Yes or no?
They did. Moving on.
Right, they did, and so the rest of the movie does not matter. I don't care about none of the rest of that shit. It was good.
Right. Couple things. Kang was obviously amazing.
His costume looks sweet as fuck, bro.
That MODOK was absolutely hilarious.
Dog, especially, so obviously spoilers here. When his like death scene, bro, that shit was hilarious.
So MODOK was hilarious, but this is also a character that I've been kind of waiting to see in the MCU and see if they did bring him in, how would they do it?
Yeah.
So I was kind of here for the MODOK thing. I thought it was funny.
I agree.
And
he's a silly character,
and he
bro.
is. MODOK is always like, look at him.
Right, he's a fucking floating head.
He's always been.
He's a fucking weird character.
Kind of weird.
All of these comic book purists, they disrespected. What do you mean? MODOK was a silly. Look at him. He's silly. He's a head.
He's a head.
Like he looks
in a chair
with little baby legs, right? Like you don't make that character a serious character. Like you can't. That's not gonna look as cool as you think it will. It's gonna look silly. Yeah, so you might as well just lean into the silly. It was fine.
It's all right. That was funny. Also, man, I loved that Hank Pym kind of got, the real Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Hank Pym kind of got like a cool Ant-Man moment.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So yeah, man, whatever. It was cool. Also, I gotta take every chance I can get to big up the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. GOAT. I mean, in my opinion, it's right up there with the 90s X-Men show.
Facts.
Like Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, guys, if you are not a comic book reader and you want some more Kang stuff, that cartoon has one of the best Kang arcs.
Yeah.
Period. They have.
I feel like it might be the only one.
Probably is the only one.
But it's great though.
But this show, man, has definitely, and like you said, maybe the only, but it's got an incredible Kang the Conqueror arc. It's got an incredible best on-screen Doctor Doom that we've ever seen.
Yep.
It has a great Loki arc. It has a great Secret Invasion arc. Like that show is really, really good, man. So I think it's on Disney Plus now too. So go check out Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, man.
Before we move on, I have a theory that I want to broach. We talked a long time ago about how we called Secret Wars the day after fucking Infinity Endgame. We were like, all right, next has got to be Secret Wars, only option. All right, so we were right about that. We also predicted that Secret Wars would be how they brought in the X-Men, which seems like it's going to be true as well. But I'm starting to get worried about, and I talked about this initially. I talked about this when we first broached this idea of like having the X-Men come into the universe after they do the soft reset. After Secret Wars, and I started to get a little bit worried about, man, like, damn, dog, like, they keep hinting this mutant shit, bro. Like, stop doing that.
Right.
Like, because I stand by this. My greatest fear is if they introduce mutants in the MCU, in the current 616 MCU, and then all of a sudden, like, mutants are new, and Professor X and Magneto's story is completely useless. Because the whole point of their story arc is that they were a first generation or a prior generation of mutants who had an experience that was fucked up, and like that informed their philosophies to raise the next generation of mutants. It needs to be 2 generations at least. So if you don't have that, you can't do that if mutants are new, right?
Right.
So I'm getting worried that they're going to do that or come up with some bullshit about, oh, we were hiding in whatever, and we were hiding in Wakanda, and Professor X wiped everybody's. Like, that would be so fucking dumb. Anyways, so I was worried. I am still a little bit worried about this, but I saw a really interesting theory that's making me feel like they might not drop the ball. There's a theory that because basically the closest that we've come to a confirmation of a mutant is Kamala Khan in Miss Marvel. They straight up say, I mean, they fucking played the X-Men theme, right? Like, so she is a mutant, confirmed. But there's a theory that suggests that the dimension that she's from, that she was born in, or like that she comes from, or her parents come from, that like alternate dimension,
that secret timeline thing,
or whatever it was, that were all of their tech and like Kamala's bands and all that shit. And also the dimension that Shang-Chi is from, the dimension that they go into,
the 10 rings are
right. That they're all different universes. And that Kamala Khan is not from the MCU 616 universe. Her mutation could have been a result of her being from a different dimension where mutants do exist.
Okay.
And so or like being a spawn or a child of someone who came from a different universe. So it might not be native to this universe. Now, I'm fine with Marvel introducing mutants as a new thing in the MCU, but like there being other universes that exist where, because we already saw it in Multiverse of Madness, right? Several other universes where mutants have always existed, right? Like if they do that and then do the soft reset in Secret Wars with the Battle World and all that stuff, which they will obviously do, then we're good. So, but this idea that like the only established mutant that we have in the MCU is actually not from this universe, that might be the way that they avoid the turnover. That might be the way that they avoid fumbling the ball and making this work. And they also suggest that the 10 rings could be like Kang tech and not, because I thought it was going to be Eternals, but there's a suggestion that it could be like Kang tech from like another universe where Kang was the emperor or something, or some derivative of his technology.
That would be really dope.
So we'll see.
That would be sweet. Also, the mention of the incursions again. So
yes,
if obviously they're gonna go the Illuminati route for that stuff.
Yeah.
Who in the MCU do you think would be the new version of the Illuminati?
I think.
And do you think they would do the Cabal too, or just?
I don't know, because you need Dr. Doom for the Cabal, don't you?
You do, but also, could you not see Kang maybe possibly?
Sure, yeah. So for the,
I mean, this is also stuff that wouldn't be for years down the line. So possibly could be Doctor Doom
for sure. Yeah. So for the Illuminati, I definitely think you're gonna get some version of Captain America. It probably, well, hold on a minute. It ain't gonna be Sam. That's for damn sure.
Right.
They ain't finna give him the keys to that shit. Probably Bruce Banner, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I would say somebody from Wakanda. Maybe Shuri. I think Namor would be there because I mean he's here and he's got vested interest.
That is another good one.
I don't know. Those are only people I could say that I feel confident
those are
in.
some really good choices though.
Yeah, because nobody else who's in it is like available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because Tony Stark's dead. Professor X doesn't exist in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was in it? Was Beast in it at one point? I think he might have been. But Magneto. Oh, I don't think Magneto was ever in the Illuminati. Doctor Doom is not here yet. Oh no, he wasn't in it. Sorry. There was another. Oh, Black Bolt. Black Bolt is.
Nah,
did they retcon that shit? Hopefully
that.
they did.
Yeah,
that shit was weak as fuck.
But they showed him in the Wanda and
true.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
So just like they showed all those other characters they teased us with, and they died instantly. That don't matter. All right. Couple days ago, man, it was Pokemon Day. I don't know if you knew, but they put a couple new legendaries on Scarlet and Violet.
I did see that.
Paradox Pokemon. Not my favorite thing. They also announced a new DLC expansion for that game. There's 2 of them, going back to the Zero Area thing. I think a lot of people were a little disappointed because I think people were expecting older gen games being announced, remakes for the Switch.
Agreed.
Which they did not.
Real quick, I just looked it up. In addition to Doctor Doom, Loki would be somebody who would potentially be.
That's a good one.
In the Cabal, but also Namor has been both in the Illuminati and in the Cabal.
And in the Cabal.
I forgot about that.
His character was really good in the
Agreed. He was dope.
Movie.
Super dope.
I can see that for sure.
Also Emma Frost, but we ain't got her yet.
Don't have her at all. I don't know, man. We'll see. But Kang was definitely great in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So as you all know, before we get into the SwordCast Definitive Top 10, we talked about I want to get into a little bit of sports, dog. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, man. So we're past the trade deadline.
Yep. Although Wiseman has been fine so far.
We are past the trade deadline. I want to know give me one sports trade that broke your heart, and then give me one sports trade where your team actually did the thing and went and got a guy that you wanted them to get.
There's actually been a few of those. But I haven't been right about them, even though I thought that they would. So I predicted 3 moves that the Pistons made in my lifetime, like with scary accuracy. I predicted Reggie Jackson to Detroit. I predicted Tobias Harris to Detroit, and this one doesn't really matter. I also predicted that they would draft Killian Hayes. I kind of I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. And I also predicted. I showed you the picture. I predicted R.J. Hampton to Detroit as well. I don't know. Whatever. I like R.J. Hampton. I don't know if he's an NBA player, but we'll see. But the one that matters the most, I think, is obviously trading for Rasheed Wallace in 2004. That won us a championship.
Boom.
The one that broke my heart, trading for, although I was excited about it at the time, but bro, trading for Blake Griffin, we shouldn't have did that, dog.
Right.
That 11th pick turned into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Can you imagine him and Cade Cunningham playing together? We would have the best backcourt in the NBA in the next 5 years, bro.
Ouch.
Although, that said, we probably wouldn't have been good enough to get Cade, but still. I mean, so we wouldn't have been bad enough to get Cade, but still. You can't make that trade. It fucking killed us, man. It put us in cap space hell. We gave up our draft pick for it. We also, a year before that, we made a trade for Ben Gordon that ended up dropping us out of our top 7 pick because we got jumped by Charlotte, so we lost our pick. The pick ended up being Noah Vonleh, who wasn't good, but still, I just hate losing a first round pick, bro.
Facts, always.
Yeah,
always hate losing a first rounder, man. Yep.
We didn't make a trade for Ben Gordon, but Ben Gordon was involved in that somehow. Anyways,
right.
Carry on.
I have also predicted a couple moves. I think my greatest Warriors roster prediction was, so obviously I wanted Steph Curry in the draft, but I thought he was going to be a top 3 pick.
Me too.
And when he started to slip, I remember watching that draft and literally freaking out when he was getting past all these teams.
It was Darren, or who was it? The guy, shit, that I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. Who Minnesota drafted?
Oh, Johnny Flynn.
It was when Johnny Flynn went, where I was like, yo.
Yeah, because what happened was everybody, you know, I wanted them to draft Steph really bad, but there's part of me that's like, they're not going to draft it because they had Monte Ellis at the time, and, you know, 2 small guards, blah, blah, blah. Even though Steph's not small, he's like 6'4".
Yeah, secret elite athlete, bro.
But, you know, but I did call the Klay Thompson draft pick, man. I did call the Klay Thompson draft pick.
12th,
I did
11th overall?
I did call the Jordan Poole pick as well. I really wanted them to give Jordan Poole. But as far as trades go, I mean, come on. I think my favorite Warriors trade wasn't really something that I wanted them to do because it was completely random. But definitely when they went and got Baron Davis, I think that was like that's a trade that you won't hear a lot of people talk about that like turned that franchise around for real and turned them into like
an exciting
team.
They weren't that good yet.
No, they weren't. But that turned them into an exciting team. Even the trade where they basically traded white dudes for black dudes with the Pacers.
Yeah.
They sent Mike Dunleavy, Troy Murphy for Stephen Jackson and Al Harrington.
Did David West? That was later.
David West came later. Yeah, he came way later when Steph was.
But didn't they trade another white guy for him? Didn't they trade? Wasn't that
the David West trade?
Wasn't it
I think David West came over as a free agent.
Okay.
Yeah, but the big trade, the one trade that I loved though, that was a key for them, was when they finally, and I don't want to say finally because I actually liked Monte Ellis. He was kind of a jerk though towards the end of his tenure with the Warriors. But when they traded and they traded Monte Ellis and they got Andrew Bogut, and that was a huge piece that they needed. This was in 2012 when they went and got Andrew Bogut, who they desperately needed. You know, a big guy. So that was dope. Yep. Boom. Moving on. All right, let's go, man. We talk about anime fights all the time. We are always, it's you know, it's different because you got this, like, there's a difference between like an actual anime fight and then like a moment, right? And I think the two, you know, rightfully so, I don't think it matters, they get clumped into the same pool a lot.
Yep.
Because, you know, there are some fights that I would consider more moments than, you know, an actual fight. Like, for example, me personally, I think that Gohan and Cell is more of a big moment for Gohan, right? Than like a fight. He really kind of just beats the crap out of Cell. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, bro. Sometimes fights be one sided.
Yeah, nah, man. You know,
sometimes nigga get his ass
whooped. or you know, even something like Deku and Muscular, right? Like that's and you know, we talked about this as well. My Hero Academia doesn't really have like fights. It's more like these moments, you know what I'm saying? There's like these sweet moments that happen, but there's never really a lot of back and forth like combat per se, I guess, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I was thinking about this earlier. I think My Hero is a super underrated, just as a piece of work in general, because that manga has some of the best. Because a lot of the shonen stuff, the art style is not the. It's always like that. They seem to do. It's a lot less detailed than some other manga that you read. Like it's more so about they focus more on like the story than they do the super detailed panels and all that. My Hero Academia's got some great artwork. Yeah. Really good art. But yeah, with that said, man, let's go. We had you guys send in your list. Thank you for sending your list in. Yeah. We got this SwordCast definitive top 10 anime fights. I did say only anime because if we included manga, my list would be a lot different. There's some fights that have not been animated, and there are some fights that I think are better. I think, Naruto might be the only anime that I've seen where the fights are way better in the anime than they are in the manga. Like their fights in the manga are like they almost like just kind of skim through them. Yeah. In the show, I feel like they always add more and they make them like Kakashi versus Obito in the manga is like 1 page long. Bro, that was an amazing. And in the anime, it's like the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? They do that a lot in that show.
You know what fight? I might ruin somebody's list here, but you know what fight I kind of think is? I think you might have said the same thing a while ago. But I think a fight that's a little bit overrated, and the reason why people like it is actually the reason why I don't like it. The Pain versus Naruto fight with the weird ass animation. And
what I was gonna say is like that's another thing that kind of can take away from an anime fight that you don't have to like when you read the manga. It's like it's just good because you're just kind of reading it, right? Yeah. In the anime, it's like this. They really kind of ruin it with the animation because what happens is you already know if the fights can be sweet or not because the episodes got that different animation that they do when they spend that money for the fight, right? Naruto used to do it all the time. Like, and what it does is, because I think I'll say it right now on the record, and it might surprise people. I am not a fan of the Naruto Pain fight. I think it was 10 times better in the manga than it is in the show. I think in the show. Now, when you watch Naruto and you watch the way the animation changes when they do the sweet fights, right? Kakashi versus Obito. Even earlier in the show, Sasuke versus Orochimaru in the forest, animation changes. Lee versus Gaara, the animation changes. It's like that fluid, sweet looking animation. You know what I mean? Sasuke versus Itachi. Kakashi and Team 10 versus Hidan and Kagazu. Like when they do the big fights, the animation always changes, and they do that different style where it's like really fluid. And when they did the Naruto versus Pain fight, the animation didn't get good until like the 3rd episode. Well, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the weird animation where Pain was like that part didn't actually bother me. What bothered me was that they waited until the climax to put the money into the animation, and then what happened was the part that was animated sweet was the part where Naruto was like rampaging as the Nine-Tailed Fox demon, and it's like you should have. Why didn't we do that for the hand-to-hand fight part? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing that I didn't like, so I think you're right. They took a minute to like get to the money part, but I just think they just made a weird art choice that just didn't work for me. Right. Like I've seen that style before, most notably in the Animatrix. I'd be willing to bet that whoever animated that probably animated that episode of the Animatrix. I forget which. I think it was the one where Neo saves the kid, saves Mouse. I think it was very similar to that. And it just, it ain't work for me, bro. That shit looks silly.
I feel you. It's
didn't look sweet. Like, was it artistic? Yes. Was it creative? Absolutely. But was it sweet? I don't know. I don't know if it was sweet or not. Might not have been sweet, bro.
Yeah, I think that's a very overrated fight. Hate to say it, but I think it is very overrated. Yep. All right, man. Let's get some predictions from you, my guy.
This is hard, bro. I don't know. I'm not gonna keep track because There's infinity anime fights.
This was one of the hardest ones because there is not that, man. There were some lists where it was like 10 fights that weren't on anybody else.
Right.
And then there's some where, like, you know, obviously you're a fan of like, because me personally, I had to try to keep a bunch of Naruto fights off of my list because I wanted some diversity on there. But I mean, Naruto got some.
It does.
Got some really good fights, man.
So I would say, I mean, I think people are gonna disappoint you and put Gohan versus Cell. You already know that's on my list, and we've already talked about it. I think Spike versus Vicious will probably be on there.
So that's interesting to me because that is like one of the main. Like, if I had to pick a fight that was, you know, I guess if I had to pick a fight that was more moment than fight, that would be like the top of my list.
Really? You think so?
Yes, I think.
But it was like, it lasted for a while though.
Well, I think Spike versus Vincent from the movie
sure
is a better fight than Spike and Vicious. I think Spike and Vicious is more like a showdown, like, you know what I mean? They didn't really fight. It was like a little scuffle, and then Vicious gets him on the ground, stabs him, Spike shoots him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that whole entire conflict in that scene is like one of the best scenes in anime history.
See, bro, I think you're going to people are gonna disappoint you based on their, because I think that your specificity on separating the two is unique to you, right? Because I think a lot of people recognize the moment, but they still recognize it as a fight, right? Mm-hmm. So like, and again, I know this about you, and I think most of the SwordCast fans know it about you. As a martial artist, like, you are interested in the exchange of hands. Yep. In the exchange of tech.
Yes, I am. It's funny because the other night, remember I text you, I randomly watched Dark Knight.
Yep.
And I haven't seen that movie in years. Mm-hmm. And, you know, honestly, wasn't really a big fan of. I'm not a fan of slow Batman. I just don't like it. Yeah. But I watched this movie for the first time in a long time, and, you know, I was like, hey, man, you know,
yeah,
this Bane character is really sweet.
Yep.
At the same time, you know, I was like, these fight scenes suck. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are they moving so slow? Like, who did this choreography? It's just whack.
So with that said, I think that your standards for a fight, if the hands ain't exchanging at a high level, then this nigga don't want nothing to do with it, bro.
Hey, you know,
which is fair, because I feel that way. I feel that way about certain, like, this is the reason why I think certain producers are. All right, here we go. Here's a very fair exchange, a very fair comparison.
Okay.
This is the reason why I don't think. And already niggas is about to be screaming at their phones and at their computer when I say this. This is the reason why I don't really fuck with DJ Premier like that, dog. Like, whoa. He is a legendary producer, bro. Legendary producer.
I love DJ Premier.
And obviously, like, he's a legendary producer. And
man, you gotta be careful, man.
I know. Oh,
the hip.
Right, the hip hop gods. I'm just playing. He's my favorite producer of all time. But so here's what I'll say. His beat style is not my favorite, only because for me, what I appreciate is like the syncopation and like the way that the drums interact with just for my taste in production, right? Like, he does a thing that feels more like a moment than a fight scene. Whereas like Jay Dilla,
that is a very interesting,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jay Dilla, Flying Lotus, K Tronada, Black Milk, right? Like, tech, bro. Like, the stuff that's happening is super
fight scene.
the exchange of hands and sound. Yeah. Whereas DJ Premier is a master of picking a sample and making this thing that is like a found sound. He can redefine it and make it simple, which is not weak. It's not whack at all, but he simplify. He doesn't simplify the music, but but he doesn't complicate it. He doesn't overcomplicate it, and then he leaves space for the MC to be able to be an instrument, right? Like that is hard. I know personally that's hard as fuck to do. I'm not that good at that, right? Like that's one of the things that I've been learning to do is to create space and do less with more, or do more with less, as a matter of fact. And for my taste, the folks that like are really intricate and they take all these things and do this and fucking flip it here and do that and upside down and kung fu, right? Like that appeals to me. So I get it. I'm right there with you. It's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But DJ Premier is my favorite. He is my favorite producer of all time. I like DJ Premier a lot.
There we go. For the record, I am a DJ Premier fan, but I actually understand what you're saying. This is an interesting way to put it. All right, man. I'm going to give you 5 fights that I think are big snubs that got votes but did not make the list.
Boom. What we got?
Number 1, Gohan versus Cell. I know that I sat here and I said that it was more of a moment, but I also recognize it as one of the greatest moments in anime history.
No doubt.
And I thought it would make this list, and it did not.
I'm stunned by that.
Gohan punched the upgrade out of Cell. He made him throw up a person.
Nigga, Cell,
downgrade.
Cell.exe has stopped responding. Goddamn it.
Like Cell was literally confused. Like,
right. Dog, what
why did he hit me so hard? What?
Why am I so damaged? This is literally where this sound effect comes from. That was when Gohan punched a Android update out that nigga, dog.
Oh my gosh, hilarious!
So much
Why
damage.
am I so damaged? Oh man, legendary.
Dog.
Number 2, big snub. I thought it would make the list. Has legendary status. Maybe, spoiler alert, maybe not so much as legendary as another fight from the series. But the first Goku versus Vegeta fight.
Dog, blasphemous, dog.
I thought this would be on this list.
That fight is my favorite of those.
It is great. I thought it would be on here. It is not.
Of those guys. Mm-hmm. It's not my favorite Dragon Ball Z fight, but it's my favorite fight of those guys. 2, for sure.
Another big snub, number 3 big snub here. I'm going to say this fight got some votes that almost made. There was actually all these were like a vote or 2 away from actually making the list. Mm-hmm. Rengoku versus Akaza from Demon Slayer.
Dog, wow.
I thought this was one of the greatest anime fights of all time.
Yeah.
I am very surprised to make it. This is spoiler alert. We'll share our list next week. This is on my list. I love this fight. I love this Rengoku's character. I think this fight is where Demon Slayer kind of jumped into that tier of people saying it's got some of the greatest animation of all time.
No doubt.
So I'm surprised this isn't on here. Another big one. This one's gonna get under your skin.
Oh Lord.
Deku versus Todoroki, man.
Y'all are tripping, bro.
On the list again.
That's one of the. I mean, you just made a point about how there's not that many like fights in this. That's one of the like.
Yeah, it's one of the very clear one-on-one.
Right. It was like the whole episode was them just scrapping. Like, how do y'all not? How does that not make the list?
That did make the list. Kind of a big. There's no My Hero fight on this list, which kind of surprises me.
That is very surprising.
And number 5 got a lot of votes, didn't make it. One of my favorite fights of all time, probably my favorite Dragon Ball fight, Piccolo versus Android 17. I actually loved that this was on so many of your guys' lists. It wasn't high enough on some of the lists, and that's why it didn't make the list. But it's just the fact that I saw people actually mention it. It's one of my favorites, so I like that.
Yeah.
But there was a tie. The 2 fights with the most points that did not make the list. Number 1, Netero versus Meruem from Hunter x Hunter. That is old master versus Meruem, the Ant King. Mm-hmm. Super, such a good fight between 2 OP characters. It was that whole story in Hunter, the Chimera Ant arc is good. Starts off kind of whack, but it ends up turning into one of the best anime arcs ever. Just two characters that you wanted to see fight for a long time, and it happened, and it was very good and lived up to the hype. So, but we just talked about it. The one that got the most votes that didn't make the list. Again, this is something that I don't necessarily view as a fight, but it just like Gohan said, this is one of the greatest anime moments of all time. Spike versus Vicious.
Word.
Not on the list. You guys kind of chose the hands stuff over.
That's what's up.
And the visuals. All right, let's go, man. The official SwordCast definitive top 10 favorite anime fight list. Thank y'all for sending in your list. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 10. This is definitely one of the most, not necessarily emotion, it's not, you're not getting emotionally attached, but as far as looking at it, this is one of the most visually impressive fights of all time. Broly versus Gogeta from the Dragon Ball Super
Bro,
movie.
I'm mad as fuck that's only number 10. The whole second half of the movie was that the whole, for 30 straight minutes, dog. Just, these niggas was punching each other in and out of other dimensions. That fight's awesome. Good.
I don't have any complaints about that fight. That fight was incredible.
And the animation
was insane. I think that's the best looking Dragon Ball fight of all time. And I don't think it's close. Agreed. I think that is by far the greatest looking Dragon Ball fight ever.
100%.
Dragon Ball kind of is guilty of a lot of speed and just kind of nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just a lot of blurred lines.
Yeah, and this was one of the best Dragon Ball fights where it's actual fighting and actual movements that you're seeing. Really, really good. And then Gogeta, they threw that galaxy ball at him.
The galaxy jelly bean, I think is what it's called.
That was insane.
Which was kind of a throwback because the only other time I think you saw that move was in the Janemba fight and 25 years ago.
Yep. Very good. Coming in at number 9. What y'all doing, man? What are y'all doing?
Let's hear it. What we got?
I don't know. I ain't never seen it because I don't watch One Piece. We got Luffy versus Kaido from One Piece.
I don't know. What's that?
I know about this fight.
Is that the one I was about to say? Is that the one where his arms stretch? But
all right, man. Look, I'm not gonna spend no time slandering One Piece. I haven't seen this fight because I don't like One Piece, and you know what? That's okay. It's okay that I don't like One Piece. It's all right that it's not for me.
Which one?
What I don't need is for somebody to question me why I don't like it and to try to convince me to watch more of it.
Bro, I'm not.
Even though I've watched hundreds of episodes. No.
I only watched 35, and that's plenty.
Well, did you see?
No.
Well, did you see episode 771?
Bro, I watched 35 episodes.
Well, no, you gotta. Well, did you? Well, why? Well,
nope. Hold on.
What you should do is
get your calculator. 24 minutes times 35. I watched. Whoops. Times 35. I watched 840 minutes of that shit, bro.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
I watched 14 hours of fucking One Piece, bro. No thing, and it wasn't, and I didn't like it. That's enough. That's enough, bro.
That's plenty. All right. Number 9, Luffy versus Kaido for the One Piece fans getting on the list. Number 8, you guys. Now I'll say this is the first. Maybe this one is. It was a fight. It was a very long fight, but it's a very legendary moment in anime history. So I'm not mad that this is here. Goku versus Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. I mean, we know what it is. First moment of going Super Saiyan after hearing the rumors, right?
Yep.
So,
well, if you were a child of the 90s like me and Edmund, we had already seen it on the early internet.
On the early internet.
On the go right. On the fucking Dragon Ball Palace.angelfire.com
the Angel Fire sites, man.
The GeoCity joints, bro. We had already seen all the way up to I think Super Saiyan 3 at that point.
Man.
And then a lot of kids didn't put it together, but Dragon Ball the Super Saiyan transformation was actually in the intro, but we just didn't have any context for what it was.
Didn't know what we were looking at.
It was the very last shot of the intro. He turned Super Saiyan, and we are all just like, oh, whatever, like excited.
Cool. Oh, what's he gonna do that? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Turns out that matters a lot.
That must be Kaioken 100.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, Not Mad is here. Legendary history. Number 8, Goku versus Frieza. Boom. Frieza cutting himself in half with his own.
Fucking dumbass. Yeah, you fucking idiot. Outsmarted by a monkey.
Oh, Frieza, you racist.
Yep.
Coming in at number 7. Ooh, I love this fight so much. I'm glad it's here. Now, I am not a fan of Boruto. I don't like Boruto. I've tried. I've stayed up to date with the manga so I can see what's going on with my homies, Naruto and Sasuke. I just don't like it. I think Boruto would have worked better if it would have skipped a generation. Like how Korra did. So that way your favorite characters are already gone and they're kind of legends.
You don't have to be teased by them.
And they're kind of legends of the past, right?
Yeah.
But instead it's like we get this show where we're trying to give you this new character, but simultaneously dangling your old favorite characters in front of you, but not really committing to either one being the main character, just kind of getting you to hang around by.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism.
And it's like, did we not learn from Dragon Ball, man? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Gohan was supposed to be the main character of Dragon Ball Z. They didn't stop with Goku being front and center.
He was dead. They killed him. He was gone.
And they brought him right back.
They set him up to be dead forever.
And he came back. So you know what I'm saying? And that's just what this show reminds me of. Like, and now it's like getting to the point where the story's all over the place. These villains are so strong, and the next one's just conveniently stronger than the other one for no reason. And,
power scaling, bro.
And now we're nerfing Naruto and Sasuke as like to conveniently prop up Boruto, make him more important. It's just not for me. But
it's one of the flaws of anime, of shonen anime in particular, is the power scaling problem.
Yeah. But you know, with that said, coming number 7, we got Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki. One of the greatest looking fights of all time.
They was serving that nigga some hand sandwiches, dog.
I love this fight so much. And you know what? I have always said, I think that Boruto would have been perfectly fine ending right here. I think if they would have, because this is what we wanted, right? We want to see Naruto and Sasuke as a team at their peak, and this was it. This was all we needed. This fight was so satisfying. It was something we wanted to see for years since they were kids. Hokage Naruto, top of his game, Sasuke on top of his game as adults together fighting a super strong villain. Incredible. Animation 10, all the choreography 10, everything about this fight is amazing. I think you could have literally ended Boruto right here. Just could have just been like a little mini series, and you could have ended it right here, and I think it would have been cool. But amazing fight. Coming in at number 6. You guys are showing some knowledge here. This is probably this entry here makes me the most happy out of all of them that you guys even know about this. This is undoubtedly the greatest animated sword fight of all time. Luo Lang versus Nanashi from Sword of the Stranger.
I'm surprised to see that on the list.
I can't believe it's here, but it was on a lot of lists at number 6. This fight is amazing.
Yeah.
Everything from the sword fight itself, the music, it's super emotional. This is, if you've ever seen this movie, which you guys need to go watch this movie right now. Sword of the Stranger, one of the greatest anime films of all time.
Yep.
You got this guy, the samurai, has basically committed to not ever using his sword ever again after he, had a traumatic experience that he was forced to do something he didn't want to do. And he unsheathes his sword for the first time in years to save this little boy. And this fight is amazing. Nothing more I like than the villain that just wants to fight somebody strong. And that's what the villain is here. He just kind of involved in some shady stuff, but he just wants to fight somebody. That's good.
Anybody up for a scrap? You want to fight? Hey, bro, you want to fight real quick?
And it's also it's also something we don't see all the time. It's a Chinese swordsman. The European guy he's learned Chinese martial arts, so he's doing more like wushu and Chinese straight sword style. Then you got a samurai. So incredible fight. That's number 6. Coming in at number 5. I mean, as far as a climax, I think this was perfect. Couldn't have been better. We got the final fight between Naruto and Sasuke.
Yeah.
This fight is awesome. I mean, that's it. It was good in the manga. It was better in the anime. They added to it. Incredible, man. I mean,
that final panel was crazy.
Bruh, it's nuts. And this fight really delivered, man, in every way possible. I think this was the big one. This is the big dog, and it delivered, man. It had all the stuff. Had some hand-to-hand stuff. Had some good ninjutsu stuff. Had the big crazy, Susanoo versus the big Naruto chakra beast.
Chakra ball, chakra monster, Godzilla.
They blew each other's arms off. But yeah, this fight's awesome. And like the flashbacks to oh my goodness, this fight's really good. The flashbacks to the first fight. The first fight they had, same place, like just
and kind of the same ending too.
Amazing, yeah, so good. And that first fight is really good too. Like I wouldn't have mind seeing that on here either. But just an incredible fight. Could not have possibly ended the story of Naruto and Sasuke better than this right here.
Yep.
Coming in at number 4. Wow. I was a little disappointed that Rengoku and Akaza wasn't on here, but Tenjin Uzui and Tanjiro versus Gyutaro, animation masterclass right here. I'm not mad that this is so high. I'm not mad if we're calling this like this is one of the best looking anime fights of all time.
No doubt.
Just Demon Slayer again, like hitting that next level of animation. This fight's incredible. I'm not mad it's here. Happy to see it here. Uzui, man, one of the sweetest pillars. In this fight, oh my gosh, dude, just the way they animated it, incredible.
Yep.
That's it, man. This fight's a 10 out of 10 for sure. Coming in at number 3. Spoiler alert. This is my favorite anime fight of all time. Kakashi versus Obito. Let's go.
It's a good one.
Great. This is one of the main fights that was way better in the anime than it was in the manga.
Yep.
In the manga, it was a moment where it was a moment. Like we're like, oh, this is it. You know what I'm saying? And it went by kind of fast.
Yep. I remember because that was when I was reading.
Yeah, it's like 2 pages.
Yeah.
And the whole I think in the manga, it's more so about. Remember, Obito needed to get hit by that Chidori so it could break the Madara's control over him.
Yep. Or curse or whatever it was.
But in the anime, they make it a little more. But I need this to happen. But also, like, this is
scrapping.
Yeah, this is life. This is both our lifetimes in the making.
Yeah,
let's go.
We've been doing.
You know what
shit.
I'm saying?
This has been a long time coming.
And it felt like in the anime, like it felt like this was the end of the story. Like not the other stuff. Like this felt bigger than everything else.
Yeah.
Because this was something that we were waiting for a long time.
And just that story, that fight is made better by the story as well. Like that's one of the great like reveals of like storytelling history.
And the way that they did it when like he just kind of notices that their Kamui's connected to the same like space-time thing.
Same space.
Crazy. And then
I would have loved to have been there live when that was. I wonder like was there theories going around about who Obito really, or who like the fake Madara really was?
It for sure. Because I was reading Naruto in real time, so it was like
how many people thought it was Obito?
So
like was there like a big contingent of people who thought like no, it's got to be Obito, or was there like other options as well?
There was a lot of people who were saying that it was Obito. Like that was pretty much the main like
theory.
That was the main theory. It was
on some Jon Snow shit.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but what is that? Is that kind of similar? Because I don't watch Game of Thrones.
My bad. It's like the whole the origin of Jon. I mean, this is obviously a major spoiler. Do you plan on watching Game of Thrones? I shouldn't tell you if you're gonna watch Game of Thrones.
Okay, don't tell me because I actually
it's good, bro. Like there's enough just like good, just high quality storytelling, and also every 5 or 6 episodes they'll give you a sword scrap, dog.
Right.
I showed you that fucking Arthur Dane versus
that fight was sweet.
God,
with the 2 swords.
That nigga with the double broadsword, dog, going crazy.
Oh man.
So, anyways, yeah, I won't tell you, but it's similar to that, like a reveal.
Yeah. So like back in the day, I remember people, like there were some people who thought that, because remember he was like Toby, and then he was saying he was Madara, and then like people didn't really believe that he was Madara.
Right. Yeah, that was obvious.
But there were some people that thought he was. I remember some people thought he was Shisui.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people thought he was Shisui. A lot of people thought he was like some other Uchiha clan person. So there was some stuff going around back then. But yeah, definitely one of the greatest reveals. The anime did a great job of making the fight a big deal. The music, and it was also right around the time when everything in Naruto was just becoming these big, like crazy,
like set pieces,
like
and shit.
Superhero battles, and this was like getting back to the hands and the, a little more taijutsu than we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So
what would you say is a bigger reveal? Itachi's reveal or Obito's?
Itachi's. That
changes everything.
That changes literally the whole story.
Yeah.
Like,
yep, agreed.
I could talk about Itachi for a whole episode, so that's another. We'll get into that another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely that. Coming in at number 2. Man, I was surprised. I could not believe that this fight is so high and they got so many points. This is the definition of like a anime that is based in reality with a kind of a little bit realistic. One of the guys was kind of floating around, teleporting a little bit. But number 2, Jin versus Kaguya from Samurai Champloo. Incredible. Hell yeah. Incredible. The fight, the moment, Jin coming up that hill, man, with his hair down.
Oh my God,
the speech, the music.
And even like I kind of
how fast it was, like it didn't last very long.
Which is how
sword fights are.
Exactly, bro. Like watch any Akira Kurosawa film, bro. Like these whole like drawn out shits. Like they were westerns. They were fucking like showdowns at noon, right? Quick draw type shit.
Yeah.
That's why it was so well done. Also, that's obviously on my list as well. But like compare like the way that they kind of went back and forth to the fight that
Mugen was having
on the beach.
Yes,
it was a different kind of fight, but it was still like, man, like are either one of these niggas gonna survive this shit?
And then like the whole it was even sweet in the beginning when they fight them together.
Yes,
and then Mugen kind of gets taken out, and then they fight, and then they go past each other. Jin falls in the water. You think he might be dead. Then next episode, he's okay, survives.
Yep.
Ends up coming up the hill, saving food, and then like you said, the way that it shows both fights at the same time, but also the way that they have to do what the other person does. Like Jin's got to do some unpredictable weird thing to win, which is what Mugen always does.
And Mugen's got to be in control.
Be a little more disciplined.
He's got to,
a little more in control because he's fighting somebody crazier than him.
Right. I'm ready to blow up my like C4 chair if you say the wrong thing, right? Like,
so just, man, amazing. I'm glad you guys put that on here. But number 1. The number 1 fight that got the most points.
Okay.
On the number 1 on the SwordCast definitive anime fight list. Look, I'm not mad at this at all. I think this is one of the all-time greatest fights. I think it's one of the all-time greatest moments.
Hold on, let me try to guess.
Okay.
Let me see. Man, so there's one thing that I haven't heard yet that I'm disappointed by. And I don't think it, because this anime is popular, but it's not that popular, so I don't think it would be number 1. It's not Edward Elric versus Father, is it?
It's not. That fight got a couple votes, but it didn't really come close though.
And it's from like a really popular anime.
From a very popular anime. When you hear it, you'll be like,
okay,
"Oh,
all right.
duh."
What do we got? I bet it's from Naruto. Who we got?
Rock Lee versus Gaara.
Fuck, I was just about to say that. Rock Lee versus Gaara.
Lee versus Gaara gets the number 1 spot. I'm not mad at it.
Yep.
Hey man, this was I think the first moment in Naruto where I was like, oh yeah, I'm watching all this, was probably Kakashi and Zabuza.
Mm-hmm.
But shooting exams and then Lee versus Gaara was the first fight where you were like,
oh wow,
this is like gonna be an all-time great show, and the moment of him dropping the weights.
Yep.
Because
he was not taken seriously until then,
and
right?
Gaara was kind of like
he was
killing
the big
people.
bad.
Yeah,
he was like evil.
Yeah,
during that time.
So amazing fight, amazing moment. It really drives me nuts how they dropped the ball with Lee, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, you guys know how much I love Jujutsu Kaisen and how much I love Maki Zenin from Jujutsu Kaisen. And I just think, like, they did the Lee type character right. That she is the Rock Lee character. She's like the hard worker, doesn't have, the powers that everybody else has. She can only fight, and she can't see, she can't see curse energy like these other people can. But she's just a master martial artist.
Yep.
And the difference is she got her moment and Lee never got his, in my opinion.
Yep.
She got her moment. She got her power up. You know what I'm saying? She's still current in the story. She's an important character. And she got her power up. We say all the time, bro, I know that we like Mike Guy, but the Guy versus Madara moment should have been Lee's, not his.
Agreed. And
I just think that Rock Lee was that underdog character that never got his real big moment. He had the Lee versus Gaara fight. He had the Lee Kimimaro fight where he's doing the drunken fist, which was incredible. But like big moment though, it should have been him versus Madara.
This was like his biggest moment, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It should have definitely been him fighting Madara and not Guy. So boom, that's it, man. I'm not mad at this list at all.
It's good.
You guys did a good job. Number 10, Broly vs. Gogeta from the Dragon Ball Super movie. Number 9, Luffy vs. Kaido. Number 8, Goku vs. Frieza. Number 7, Naruto and Sasuke vs. Momoshiki. Number 6, man, they was beating the brakes off that dude.
Yep.
Number 6, Naruto with the Wing Chun.
Yes, dog.
Oh my gosh. Number 6, Luo Ling versus Nanachi from Sword of the Stranger. Number 5, Naruto versus Sasuke, the final fight. Number 4, Tenjin Uzui and Tanjiro versus Gyutaro from Demon Slayer. Number 3, Kakashi versus Obito. Number 2, Jin versus Kadia from Samurai Champloo. And number 1, Rock Lee versus Gaara, the Chunin exams fight from the original Naruto. Boom. Let's go, man. Not mad at good list. If manga was included, mine would have a lot of Vagabond and Berserk fights on it.
Boom. There it is.
All right, man. We'll share our list next time. Thank y'all for listening. We'll try to get back on our normal schedule. We've been having ice storms and all types of weird stuff keeping us from linking up, but we'll try to get back to it. Thank y'all for listening. Peace.